Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny Bevan. I'm the police burnout coach, and this is the first in the series of time management. I'm going to do a series of videos all around time management because I think it's one of the things that stresses people out the most. And this, what we're going to talk about today, really, to start with, is all about prioritization. Because I think it's something I see that we just don't do enough of. We think everything's a priority, and when we think everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So, time. So the first thing I want to say about time management is time can't be managed. If you think this was going to be a series of videos where we're going to sort of magically talk about some magical way of getting more time, it is not that. Time cannot be managed. No matter how much we want to, time is just a fixed, it's not even a variable, it's just fixed, isn't it? We have 24 hours in a day. We all have the same 24 hours, and that's it. But we are so quick to blame time. We said, if only we have more time, there's not enough time. And we talk about it as if there's more to go, and if we can go and get more. So if we sort of say, I haven't got enough money, we go, well, I'll go and earn more money. But if you go, well, I haven't got time, we go, well, I literally can't get any more. But when you say this to people, we really think we believe there is more time. And I always say to people when they go, there's just not enough time. We go, well, should we get some more? And then suddenly you realize there is no more time. It's what we're trying to put into the time that's the problem. And we don't have to manage time because it can't be managed. What we have to do is manage ourselves. And what that involves is managing our mind. It's managing our thoughts around time. Because how we think about time determines our experience of it. It determines how much we waste of it. And I always use example when I went back to CID back in 2021, and there was a sergeant, and it's very common to see this, someone in custody, and they had 6 hours to deal with them. You should have more like 24, got 6 hours to deal with them. And he was saying, there's just not enough time. I should have more time. He told 4 or 5 people the same story. So then he didn't have 6 hours, he had 5.5 hours. His relationship with time, his thoughts about time meant that he then had less. And when you realize that time just ticks away, it doesn't care about anyone, doesn't stop, it just keeps going. So we really want to be careful about our thoughts about time. And throughout this, we're going to be talking more about that. But that's what I want you to understand to start with is, I want you to just watch what you say about time, your sort of relationship with it, and just notice how many times you're blaming time. Because I really noticed in myself, and I see in others, time is such an easy thing to blame, because when we think time is the fault, then we don't have to prioritize. We don't have to say to someone, actually, I can't get your job done right now. It's suddenly not our fault, it's time's fault. When our supervisor goes, I need you to do this as well, and you've already got 10 hours of work to do in an 8-hour day, you go, oh, there's not enough time. That is so much easier than saying, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Or which one do you want me to deprioritize? So blaming time saves us having difficult conversations, and it saves us having to prioritize those things. I think what it does, it takes the responsibility away from us. But what we want to do is take all that responsibility back, so we're not putting all the power to something, time, that we have no control over. Right. And the way we do this is we look at our time priorities. Now, you can look at this as in your whole life, as in sort of when you're planning your whole week, or you can look at it just with your work. You take from this what you want. I do this when I'm planning my week, sometimes my month, but I'll go, actually, what are my time priorities? Now, time priorities is different to your priorities. My wife is my priority. My kids are always my priority. My mum and dad are my priority. All these things are priorities, but they're not always time priorities. They're not always going to be where I'm spending my time. So I may have a week, even though my mum and dad are a real priority to me, I may have a week where I'm going, I'm doing lots of work on my business, I'm doing stuff with my kids. So they're my time priority. And that's what we want to be focusing on. What is our time priority? And realize that we get to choose that. And realize if we have too many of them, we've then got to decide where we're going to spend that. Because we do get to choose where we spend this time. And I say to people, pick three time priorities. But if you sort of think, actually, I've got more things going on, pick 5. But any more than 5, I would suggest, is you're going to be spreading yourself too thin. And it's probably because you don't like saying no to people. But pick 3 at a maximum 5 and just write down what are your time priorities. And a really good exercise you can do before you do this is, and I do this when I'm coaching people as well, is do a time journal. Not now moving forward, go, how have I spent my last week? And write down everything you've done, how you've spent your last week, and really granular. And then look at your time priorities and see if it marries up. Because often what we see is we end up wasting a lot of time. We end up scrolling a lot on YouTube and being on social media, or we're out with friends when actually our time priorities are kids. And we can start reconciling this and see actually this time journal is not in line with our sort of time priorities. So what I want you to do is pick what you want to spend your time on and then have a look at, are you spending your time in line with your time priorities? And if you're not, then that's down to you to go, I'm going to make that shift. And this is what we're going to move on to once we've done these time priorities in the next videos, onto things like Monday Hour 1, but we're going to show you how to put those priorities then into your schedule. But I just want to share with you this little tip, roles and goals. This is something I got from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's very similar to the time priorities. But basically, you write down all your roles. You write down all your roles you've got in your life, and you'll be surprised how many you've got, actually. I was. And when I did this, much to my shame, I said to my wife, look, I've done this. I wrote down all my roles. I've wrote down all my goals, what I want to achieve in there. And she went, where am I on there? It actually missed her off. And I think that really highlighted to me how actually I was taking her for granted. And I actually had to do this consciously and go, actually, one of my roles is as a husband. And actually, I could see that part of my life was drifting away a bit. It was not, I was not giving it the attention that I needed. And when you do this, you realize you can shift your time priorities. So I might go, actually, I haven't spent a lot of time with Nikki, with my wife, over the last couple of weeks, because I've been doing other things. That's going to be my time priority, and the other one's dropping down. And that's the beauty of this. It can shift and it can change. But so what you do is you write down all your roles, and then you go, what do you want to achieve in those roles? Now, I've done it over here. And what you'll find is you might have loads of roles, and then you might have to go, I can't do all that in a week. And that's when you decide what is going to be your time priorities. So for me as a role, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. Don't forget to put that one on there anymore. I'm a son. I'm a coach. I'm a brother. I'm also a son-in. I mean, you could go on. I'm a son-in-law. I'm a police officer. I'm a mentor. I'm a tutor. I'm all those things. And sometimes I put on there like I'm a neighbor. But when I look at it, I'm not going to necessarily be able to fulfill all of those all the time. So I decide which ones are the priority. And for me, that is really useful. And so for me, this is always up here, being a dad and being a husband, because these are the things that are the most important to me. And that is really a good question to ask yourself. What is really important to me? What is really important? If I was fast forwarding to my deathbed, where would my regrets be? If I was looking back, would you wish you'd spent more time with your mates, or would you wish you spent more time with your kids? And then start living in line with those priorities now. But like I say, that you can move them around as you want. But I know, actually, I'm probably going to be struggling down here to do all of these. So this might just be my priorities for this week. And then I might go, I haven't done much as a brother. And next week, that might shift up. And so I'm making sure I'm addressing all those areas of my life. And what I do is I have my roles and then I have the goals I want to achieve. And this sort of is eking into a bit, seeping into a bit into the Monday Hour One, but it is a useful exercise at this stage because I might go, right, for my dad, as a dad, I want to take my boy mountain biking, I want to take him fishing, and we'll sit down and watch a movie. And I'll put those three things up there. As a husband, what do I want to do? Maybe I want to go for a coffee, sit down and have a chat. Maybe I want to help around the house. Probably could do a little bit more of that. As a son, maybe that's just phoning my mum and dad. Maybe it's popping down to see them. As a coach, maybe it's doing things on my business. And you can see as you go through, and you can see what you want to achieve. But by doing this and writing it down, you'll see when you're trying to do too much. When you're trying to be everything to everyone. But it's brilliant because you can start saying, well, that's my priority this week. And actually, that's my time priorities this week. Now I can shift them around. But what I haven't put up there, which is actually a little bit naughty of me, is me. I put it there, but I think it should be there. It should be at the top. That's probably a reflection of maybe I don't spend enough time on me. Because we want to prioritize us first, really. It's like the old analogy that if you're on a plane and the oxygen drops and you put your mask on first, you can help everyone. If you run around putting everyone else's masks on, you're not going to help as many people. You can't pour from an empty cup. So having yourself up there first and going, what do I want for myself today? Maybe it's you go out for a run. Maybe it's training. Maybe it's just go for a walk, bit of time for yourself, bit of yoga. For me, it's kayaking. All those things that actually help you to show up for all these other roles in your life. Put that first. And it's one of the hardest things people find to do, but you will show up with such a different energy and you'll have time to do it all, I can assure you. So that is the roles and the goals and the time priorities. Spend some time now going over. If you want to, do your time journal first and go back and go, how did I spend last week? If you want to do that exercise, and that's simple, you just go through and write down everything you did and then go, what are my time priorities? Don't do that time journal after, because if you do it now and start documenting as you go through the week, you'll alter your behavior. You want to see what you've done. So look, question what are your time priorities, where you want to spend your time, and then write down your roles and goals. And I'll see you in the next video.